Hey everybody, I'm Scotty McCord. I play Victor on From. I have the great pleasure today sitting in on the Du Bois podcast with the legendary Joe. Uh, Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And Joe, let's do this.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to take these, but Donna, she looks the other way sometimes, and we all get a little wiggle room on one or two things. I was gonna open them in my room, but I'll open them here. If you want some. Checking to see if they've moved.
If what moved?
The trees.
Really?
And welcome back to an episode of Boys Podcast. My guest today is a returning guest. He is a voice actor, and musician. You may have heard his voice as Yang in Yin Yang Yo, Dan in Bakugan, Owen, Trent, Brody, and Jocks in the Total Drama series, Goliath, and my big friend McGee in Camp Lake Bomb. And we have seen him as Victor in MGM Plus's From, and many more. So welcome the legend himself, my very good friend, Mr. Scott McCord. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Joe. Hey man, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's an honor having you back on. Answer some of my questions, some of fan questions. I'm excited to hear your answers.
I'm excited too, man. Such a pleasure to be here. Can I say right off the top that I've been watching some of your interviews, and we were just talking about Huey Lewis before we started here. You're doing amazing work, and I think you got to keep it up, man. Keep going.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. So, Scott, the first question is actually one of my questions. Can you walk me through the audition process? How did you land the role of Victor? I'm just curious.
This is your question?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
That's a great question. Thank you. The audition process was back in, and I want to say it was 2021 when I think we shot the first season. It was, you know what it was? It was the day after my birthday. And we had celebrated the night before, and I remember having this audition that, I had prepared, but I was going to do the next day and self-tape at home in my living room for this show called From, which there was very, very little description in terms of, it was told that these residents were trapped in a little town and, whatever. I knew it was obviously from the producers of Lost. I saw who the company was and that kind of thing. I had researched that a little bit myself, but I had this character of Victor, and the scene that I had, and I know Joe, you've watched, and for those of you that are familiar with the show, in season 1, Victor, I think, enters in episode 2 for the first time. Yeah, and it's a scene where Julie, the daughter of the family, the Matthews family, played by the wonderful Hannah Shrami, is tied to a chair in front of the pantry, and the character of Victor comes in and wants to get a can of peaches. And not only does he get a can of peaches, he wants to ask her about, or talk to her about, how she got there into this town. So what's interesting, Joe, about, and I love this question about that audition, was that so when you audition, you get the scenes, and they're referred to as sides, right? So you'll get a couple scenes or one scene or something that they want to see, and you'll get a little bit of, or sometimes a lot of character description, depending on what they want to give you. And in some cases, you don't get everything, like in the case of this audition, where obviously I didn't know the whole backstory. I didn't know how the Matthews family got into town. I didn't know all these things about this world and From. I had very, very little. And I think the only character description that I got for Victor, to my memory, was something to the effect of like, Victor, there's something about him being there the longest. There was something about him being maybe a little socially awkward and lacking social graces. I remember that being one of the lines in the description that I got from casting. So the process for me was I worked with my coach. I have a coach here in New York, and we cracked this thing open. And so we had to go through this process of going, okay, so this is what we're given. This is what we know. Here's the seed of the idea. Here's the thing that we have. And things had already started brewing for me, so in that way that Victor sort of speaks his music in a way, how Victor, that impression came to me pretty early.
Wow.
So I went to my coach and I said, this is kind of where I'm at with it. And then he and I worked forward from there and on the scenes. And I remember, again, based on what I was given and that I'd been there the longest, and I wasn't sure if it was post-apocalyptic, there was all these questions. What I did with Victor was I remember I had like an old work jacket and then some shirt buttoned up underneath. And I think I had longer hair at the time, but I slicked it all back. And I remember yellowing out my teeth because I sort of, I figured here's a guy that probably, he isn't that fastidious about his looks. He probably, who knows how often he showers. So I kind of went that route with him. But that sort of essence of him that's connected, like the dialogue, John Griffin, who's the creator of the show and the head writer, also, that essence of Victor's childlike quality was kind of there in the writing to me, or at least that was the impression that I got. So what I did in the audition in the end, I think, in my memory was close to what you're seeing now. But of course that's developed just over with everything I've been given since, and the whole journey I've gone on with the show and living in that world and working with all these amazing actors and whatever, and of course with John's and all the amazing writing that comes my way. So, and how Victor has developed. So that was the process. And then I remember, here's a little funny anecdote though about the anecdote. Is that I had this huge Band-Aid over my nose.
Oh my
God. I'd had this like minor surgery done to just permanent, nothing serious, but just something that, that just required a bandage to cover it for the time being. And I wasn't supposed to take it off. And the thing that bothered me was, of course, I had to submit this audition with this big, it was a skin tone bandage over my nose, but I didn't want them to think that was a character choice that I'd made, like some weird character choice. Like, why is this guy got this big Band-Aid on his mouth? So the end of the story is that when I got the part, my agent called me and I picked up the phone. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He says, "Yeah, this got some feedback from they love the Band-Aid." And it took me a second, and I go, oh, they like me as Victor. He's like, yeah. So that's the story of how I got Victor. They love the Band-Aid.
I've noticed too, like your character Victor. I don't know if you knew this. Like your character Victor, he's always been in the same clothes. Do you realize that, Scott? I don't know if you realize that. He's always been that brown, reddish. I don't know what color that is precisely, but you know what I mean. That
shirt with the low pockets and the jeans and the boots. Yeah. I'm accustomed to it. I've grown in it. I mean, that's who, and it's so interesting what happens, Joe, too. Like, I have, as actors do, you have your prep, you have whatever you have to get into character, but there's something about putting that costume on, great costume design. It's great design across the board on all the shows, right? But there's something you can imagine, right? Putting that costume on, and especially my boots for some reason, like Victor has a sort of a gait and a walk too, like there's, that I found, but those boots, there's something, as soon as I get into all that too, everything starts to happen. It really comes alive. Like, it's exciting.
These questions come from the fan questions come from two Reddit groups. This first one's from TV Epics. I don't know if you know them on Reddit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read their username too. Okay, so Aqua Fresh asks why is Boy in White not in season 2? Would you know? Why is he not?
Wow, that's a great question. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that, you know. Uh, yeah, and I mean, they probably already know this already, that where we left off with the Boy in White was that at least, you know, we saw where he was in episode 10 of last season with Boyd and Sarah, and that he directed Boyd to the tree.
Mhm.
But we know that when I picked up Tabitha in the caves, I hope for those of you who haven't seen this is a bit of a spoiler alert, that we find out that I was instructed by the Boy in White, and we don't know how long I was down there, right,
Mhm.
to wait for her and to take her out.
Mm.
So as far as I'm concerned, as far as Victor's concerned, that is my last sort of connection with the Boy in White that we know of at this point, right? So great question, and one that I don't have an answer to, you know, as far
Also,
as this season is concerned.
ahead
I
of
miss
time-
him though.
So,
So you?
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I miss him.
ahead of time, if I pronounce your name wrong, because sometimes usernames are kind of hard to pronounce. You know what I mean, Scott? If I pronounce them wrong, I'm sorry, everyone. And also,
yeah.
there might be spoilers ahead, and he might not have answers for because he like NDAs too. You know what I mean, right, Scott?
There's that. Yeah.
Now, Scott, Thanos was mostly right. Will we see more of the Lighthouse this season?
Oh, see, everybody's asking the questions, right? Again, that's something that's I can't answer. You gotta buckle in, keep your hands inside the ride, and just go. We'll see. I mean, look, you know, as far as all the stuff that's coming up, I can say this, like, and I don't know where everybody's at with the show, where they're at, if they're in the second season, if they're up to speed. It's you know, there's so much craziness that's about to happen. You know, there's all this stuff that's going to happen and coming up. So I think that I know people, so many questions, so many things, and I wonder. I mean, I'm sure people know, as you do too, Joe, that for us as the actors, when we're making the show too, like we're shooting in chronological order in the sense, in terms of scripts. You know, we go 1 through 10. And when you shoot in film and TV, obviously you shoot scenes, and maybe, you know, if we do 2 episodes at a time, you shoot them out of order. But in terms of how we get the scripts and the story, it's all in chronological order. So for us too, we don't know what's going to obviously happen in, you know, if I'm shooting 1, I don't know what's happening in 2, you know, and so on. So it's a wild way to work, in a way too, right? Because we as actors have so many questions as we're moving through the season and shooting. And John Griffin, bless him, he meets right with us individually, and we can, you know, and we can kind of talk about things and the character and whatever else. And really quickly, there's a great thing that he does. So what happens is sometimes we sit down, and this is another question we get from people a lot. People go, "What's your theory on what's happening?" And while I don't actually, and have sort of actively avoided coming up with my own theory because it has something to do with just the work I'm doing on my character. I remember sitting down with John Griffin at one point and going, I thought I knew something that was going to happen to Victor this season. So I sat down with John early on and I said, can I throw a theory out at you? Knowing that he probably wouldn't tell me anything anyway, you know? And I spat out my theory at him like this. And he warned me he would do this, but he has this reaction that he does with everybody when everybody comes to him and goes, I think this is going to happen, where he'll listen to your entire theory or your idea, and then he'll go like this, poker face. Huh. That's all he'll give you. So I launch into this idea, you know, and you know me, I could talk forever, 5-10 minutes. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And he looks back at me and goes, huh. Anyway, so let's move on. I wish I could answer that question, and I can't.
Yeah. Oh, but also, yeah, he might not be able to have some answers for people too. Like that's another thing. He might not be able to give answers.
Or I just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, just doesn't know.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Okay. Plus dash low dash 2071 asks, what character from any movie or TV show is most like Victor in your opinion? And they'll watch it if they haven't seen it.
Wow. I haven't been asked that one yet. What character in another film or television show is like Victor?
Yes.
Oh man, I have to think about that. I mean,
I can tell you what they said. They actually responded back to their own comment. Who they
oh
said
yeah, let's hear what they have to say.
they said Forrest Gump. They said Forrest Gump.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's one. I mean, it's not one that I would say that I called. I mean, Victor is obviously like music, like anything else. I'm influenced by so many things. There's even aspects I think in things of Victor that I think I've absorbed from even just people I know here in New York, friends of mine, things, I use so much to kind of get there, but I can't think of anything in particular.
That's like Victor. Victor's like unique. He's
yeah.
he's like one of a kind. In my opinion, he's one of a kind. He's really cool.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. But I don't know. I mean, this in terms of like the archetype, in terms of what he is and what he's. That's what I'm trying to think of. It's like I'm trying to think of something like a character that's like him, that that serves a certain purpose to the narrative, to the story. Anyway, I'd have to sit and think about that one. But I'll take Forrest Gump for now.
I think of Run, Forrest, Run. That's always what I think of when I hear Forrest Gump. Or the box of chocolates quote. That's all I think of.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, now now I don't know, bruh. 000KK asks, I'm wondering if he made any friendships with some of the actors and actresses, and if so, who did he make friendships with? Like people on set?
I made many. I mean, first of all, I'll say it's it's an incredible gang of people, and we have that fortunate thing that even with new cast members this season, the whole gang, everyone, I mean, is so super talented and so devoted to the show and their work. I'm watching everybody this season, and everybody's doing the best work. They're all wonderful, beautiful souls. We all, we get along wonderfully. But I've, it's so much of it too is like in the first season, I only really had scenes, I think, with Ethan and Julie, right?
Yep.
And and I know them, and we've all hung out. But I would say that I've grown, and then some of us have just we're not together all the time, of course, because we shoot different schedules. We don't see each other. Sometimes we just pass each other on set and kind of go, hey, But I'm tight with Catalina.
Ooh, okay.
Sandino Moreno, who plays Tabitha. Donna, Liz Saunders, and I
nice
are pretty tight, and Liz Moy, Chen. Yeah, her and I, we. It's been so much fun shooting the show. We're shooting up in Nova Scotia, beautiful.
Yeah.
Halifax, and there's great surfing there. And that's one of the things that we took on. And Catalina and Liz and I go out and we all go surfing together, which is great. We got Liz surfing, right? Oh my God, so much fun. Anyways, we all get a chance to hang out all together every now and then. Of course, coming out on the other side of the pandemic, we had to, and we chose to just sort of, there were certain precautions. So I think that we had to take to kind of, pick and choose our moments that we wanted to be together on the show as we were coming out of the pandemic. And as we continue to do so, we were tested all the time. So we felt like we could do a certain amount, obviously of socializing that way. But what's really great is that Halifax is quite the downtown area. Like we're all living pretty close to each other. So even if I'm just out for a walk or like going to the optometrist or something like that, I'll pass Cordion on the street. I'll be like, hey man, how's it going? What's going on? And yeah, and we just all try to get out and just do all the things that we love and see beautiful and see the that beautiful province and have fun when we're not working, when we're not frumming.
Plus, aren't you you're based in New York and then they're all in Canada, so it's kind of, isn't it? It's the border kind of hard to see.
Oh, with You mean like in terms of
Hanging
out with
out.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to Catalina all the time. We just, we just try to, we just do this, if we can, we just jump on and do that. Uh, and there's a really nice thing that we have going there too, where everybody, we help each other out, right? Help each other out with our lines, running lines, and seeing, that kind of thing. As you know, and with this season, and a little bit of a spoiler alert, Jade and Victor connect this season early on, and so David and I didn't know David really in the first season at all. We would see each other in social events, but or whatever. We never hung out, but this season I got the chance to hang out with David, and he's awesome. He's a great guy, and so we, there's all these wonderful things that's developed out of this wonderful wonderful show. But on the other hand, there are people in the new cast, for instance, that I didn't have any scenes with at all, that I saw minimally this past season, just because of the way schedules and things and the way it worked out. But I'm really looking forward to spending more time with those guys.
That's sick. Now, Princess underscore Angle, it looks like Angle or Angel, my bad. 8 asks, will we be learning more of Victor's backstory or what he knows this season, other than what's already been shared? Will we learn more about him? Like, will we learn more?
I will say this. I will say that, they've started to crack open something for Victor that's really, really exciting this season, right? We're seeing that these memories, or what he thought were dreams, or maybe he's not, are starting to serve a greater purpose here as things are, unraveling and in Fromville. And I would say that would, I guess the answer to that would be yes, but as it is for every character on the show too, right? Like we're all, there's a lot of great, wonderful character development going on this season, and a lot more is being revealed for a lot of people. And we're also seeing sides of people too that we haven't seen yet. You know what I mean? So that's already started to happen. So, my answer to that is just, there's going to be just more of everything. I promise. You've got to
Stay tuned.
Stay there. Yeah. It's quite the ride. Just stay in the ride.
Now, Chimney asks, is there any part of Victor's character that he relates to or enjoys more than other parts? And also, your hair is so fluffy in the show, they're jealous of you.
I don't know. Is that a compliment? It's big hair. I know. My wife and I have a joke here where, like, we watch scenes sometimes, and my wife goes, "Your hair's doing its own acting." It deserves its own credit on the show. Oh my God!
Victor's hair.
My complaint. I love it. It's so wily. And the story with that was I showed up on set the first season with hair like that. And I just assumed, like I had mentioned during the audition process, how I'd had longer hair. I just thought they were going to cut it. And then I got there and they were like, no.
Keep it there.
Yeah. We're going to give it credit. We're going to write scenes for it. And no. And So the first part of the question, though, was, is there an aspect of Victor's character that
you relate to? Like, okay, so is there any part of Victor's character that you relate to and enjoy more than other parts?
Enjoy more than other parts. Man, I love it all so much. And the real exciting part of it, of course, to me, is just always working towards the core of who this guy is. So again, with each script that comes forward, there's always a new thing. There's always something else to think, and you go, oh my, this is great to chew on, and go and explore. It's been such a wonderful exploration, and I think that there was parts of Victor that I relate to. I mean, I definitely relate to that, and I love letting the little boy come out and run around, like that's just an aspect of any actor that I think is really great, that we try and, certainly stay in touch with. Keeps us youthful. But also, to kind of let that part of myself come out and do it. It's so much fun, to do that and explore. And revisit, I should say. So I love that aspect of it. I like the peaches part, but I'm
The
out of them
peaches.
right now.
The peaches.
Yeah, which for all of you watching right now, you should know this. I got to point this out now, Joe. There's this wonderful display that Joe has put together behind here. That's I mean I'm so grateful for it, Joe. But you've got peaches up there, correct?
Peaches here. Yep, those two peaches. Yep, two cans of peaches. Then I got like a collage of like the some Victor moments from season 2, and the Owen.
Flash
You
it
know,
in.
got you.
And Owen, Total Drum Island. Anyway, so those are a couple of things about Victor that I really like. I mean, I feel like, and I also just relate to all aspects of of his character. It's still wonderfully challenging, because Victor is an enigma, and a very enigmatic character, and so the great challenge of the actor always is, it's just like how do you play an enigma, but I think there's aspects of this season with his memories coming back and him having the or what he he thinks he's starting to remember, and the connections that he's making, like with Tabitha, with Jade, where I feel like I'm really enjoying seeing him connect and with people, because I think that's there's just something, I think that I started to recognize or started to resonate more this season with me when I was working, where it's just that thing that we all need, which is love, and I think that within that, Victor's starting to he's starting to make these connections with other people there, and I enjoy that part of it. Because then I get to work with really all the great actors on the show as well, right?
I'm still laughing with the fluffy hair comment.
The fluffy haircut. I know my wife's gonna see this. She's gonna love that so much. Oh my, the hair is a big topic of discussion here every week. We're like, oh, there it is.
No,
they do such a wonderful job with it.
Now CC1096 asks, do you think Victor will open up more so feel comfortable to share his knowledge now that he has found like a friend in Jade? Do you think he will open more?
Is he going to open more?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, we gotta see. I mean, and again, I know where the audience is and how far up, what episode you're up to yet. 5, which I know you've seen, Joe. I think does speak to that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit or a lot, depending on how what your opinion is. But it's obviously it's going in a direction, and Victor's whole thing, of course, that's was established earlier on, but also he reiterates in that episode is that he says bad things. There are bad things here, and they make people do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely something that keeps Victor in a certain place, right? With all of this. Mm-hmm. And I think that there is also, and John Griffin, the creator, had given me this very early on, when in season 1, where he described Victor as an unreliable narrator to himself. So, and we've seen that throughout these episodes where Victor's story, where he even says, I think it's in episode 2 of this season, to Boyd, with the pictures, when he asked about the pictures, and he says, I make these because the pictures remember, but I thought they were dreams. Right? So I think that there's this beautiful thing that we're riding, where Victor's, these things are happening, or they're coming to him, or they're being triggered, but he's still uncertain too, right? What does he remember? What does he want to remember? What does he not want to remember about the past?
True.
That's all being explored.
This next question she's a really good one. ABC Darian.
Yeah.
I love to hear about the Twinkle Twinkle scene and how it came about. Did it evolve from the ability of the performers? Like let's build a scene around Alpay's talent with the violin, or was it an idea that came from the writers' room? And does the cast have any input into the creatures of the characters? And what's the thinking behind your still walking like you're walking? You know what I'm talking about?
About
your style of walking. It
The
says
style of walking. Yeah. Okay, so I'll back up. So,
Twinkle Twinkle
yeah.
Scene.
So Twinkle Twinkle Scene was written that way to my memory, and I remember getting the whatever it was, the first draft of the of that of 5 that was in there.
Hmm.
And then I didn't know this about David, but as we know now, he does actually play the violin. Here's what's interesting is the story that I know is that they didn't know that David played the violin. This is just one of those crazy things where the universe comes together in beautiful ways and has our back. John writes this beautiful scene, and then I think David had gone to something. Anyway, they found out that David could actually play. So again, it was written like that, and then David stepped up, and man, did he step up! I mean, it's one of my favorite scenes that I've had the pleasure of being able to do, and certainly working with him. I mean, I can talk a little bit about that thing too. The work that David and I had to do on that together, bless him, David and I. That's how we kind of got to know each other. As we would get together, and keep the scenes up in the air before we started to shoot them. So David was already practicing, and we would get together, and we would do some rehearsals together of our own to try and see what we could find in terms of this. Try and find this frequency where these two characters could meet, and we found, and we're finding some really really interesting things with Jade and Victor, and yeah, I'm pleased with how that lovely scene turned out. I mean, it was so beautifully written, and
It made me tear up personally. Sorry, Scott. It made me tear up.
What's that?
It made me tear up, that scene.
It made you tear up. Oh, yeah. Thank you. And also, and wonderfully, it was just everything, the dressing, that whole scene out there, being in the cars, everything about it. Jack Bender directed that episode. His work on it, it was amazing. And then and again, when you get to work with somebody as great as like David, I think that we just all the prep that we did for that came together in really nice. It was a really nice moment. So I think that other thing I'd like to say, the other thing I'd like to say about David's playing is, I believe in the soundtrack of that scene.
Okay.
When you're hearing him play, he didn't go back in, let's say, in post-production and re-record the song for them to cut. You know what I mean? Cut it to. I think what you're hearing is the original, one of the original takes of his violin playing, which is great. It's real. It's real. It's what I was reacting to. It's what we were reacting to in the moment. The pacing of the scene, the camera moves. Everyone's moving to that music in that scene. So. They used one of the original takes, which is amazing. It's amazing. It was a highlight of the show for me to make. And then the other part of the question was Victor's walk.
You're walking like
why does Victor walk the way he does?
Yeah, just walks there.
Well, I think that was just something that I found organic. Through the early work that I did before we started shooting season 1, or before I arrived, that was just based on the seed of the idea that I had about the character at that time. That physicality kind of grew out of some work that I did and with my coach, where it was like from the seed of the of the story of like what would happen to somebody if they were there for that long. Victor, we know this about him, even though we don't know how long he's been there alone. Yeah. That he was left there alone for a long time as a very very young boy. I think maybe early on in my process, I thought a lot about how that the trauma also mixed with the all the external stimuli of being there, the monsters, the boy in white. How did that affect him being alone like that? I don't want to give too much away. Again, in episode 5, I talk about what I had to do with those cars, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The bodies that were there, that we in season 1 that we see, we see when Victor's there as a boy. Just a lot of that kind of went into that work that then, it manifested itself, I guess, in a way creatively, where all of a sudden, Victor, I just found, and also the way he, his music again, the way he speaks, it just kind of that just sort of started to happen, and and I also it was just through that early work. These are amazing questions. So thank all you guys for watching, and if you haven't subscribed to Joe, and I'll do this again, but subscribe and check out some of these guys, the other interviews. Amazing music, sports. Right? TV, film.
Yep.
Am I missing anything? You covered all.
Voiceover too.
Voiceover, of course. Voiceover. That's how you and I met. Yeah.
Yes. Now, thank
Joe,
you,
everybody. Keep jumping high five. Ready? Here we go. Jumping high five. Boom. Right, let's keep going.
Now,
I want to answer everybody's questions.
Juniper Chaos asks, "Hey Scott, have you kept anything from the set from so far, like Victor's lunchbox or can of peaches?"
Man, I wish I could keep Victor's lunchbox. Kept anything from
the iconic lunchbox?
Like what?
The lunchbox is iconic. It's like an iconic, one of a kind.
It is, and they have a couple of different versions of them too. That we use. The props department on the show. Again, this is another great department, all amazing. And they do all these great things where they come and they put very specific things that we kind of collaborate on, that go inside, the lunchbox, the design is so stellar. Nothing from the set that I brought back that I can think of.
You have a talisman? I'm curious. You have a talisman?
I have a talisman. I got it. I have some of the merch, that I think that went out to all the production early on. So, but I do have my own disco lunchbox that I found that I was rehearsing with early on in season 1 before I started shooting, that I bought myself so I could start working that, because I realized that was always with him, and so I started working that into my work and my character. So I actually have my own disco lunchbox. I have it here. That I carry my own stuff in. I mean, that's just part of my own work. I do my own drawings as Victor, that kind of thing. And so that is something that travels with me to the show and home.
And you don't have that?
Huh?
You don't have it on you like right now, or you don't like?
It's in another room. But I'll bring it out next time. It's an authentic box from the 70s.
Cool. That's really
that I managed to find, a couple of years ago, and so that comes with me everywhere. That's just Scott's lunchbox.
Now, Future Socks asks, "How many peaches have you eaten?"
Too many.
Way too many to count.
No. I mean, I have to admit though, I do love canned peaches. You right? You like?
Yeah, I love. Personally, I'm a veggie and fruit guy too. So I'm
good. That's good. Yeah. Good, Joe. We should promote healthy eating here on your. However, these peaches, that's like, I have to admit, it's delicious. I do like them, but I don't actually eat them that often, and they haven't been around since season 1. So that
they haven't gave you any peaches this season. Like, that's what I realized too. Like, you haven't gotten a single can. What the? You're not getting your fix. What the heck?
I know. It's great, and the audience has been so great. The FROMILY has been so great about it too. They I get all these messages all the time, on social media about people going, sending you peaches, man, sending you peaches.
Now, Cal Davos asks, "Is there anything from your personal life that helps play the character, like a love of peaches or a hate of people touching your stuff? Hopefully, no murdered parents or monsters stalking you at night."
What was that? Hopefully, what?
Hopefully, no murdered parents or monsters stalking you at night.
Yeah, I can. Let's start with that. I can happily say yes. I don't have any experience of that, and that I have to any that kind of a trauma to come from.
Oh man.
Um. Uh. So again, we're talking about similarities with Victor.
Hmm. Between you and
Uh,
Victor.
Sorry, what was the first part of the question again?
Is there anything from your personal life that helps play the
From
character?
it, he helps play the character, right? That's what they wanted to know. I mean, all of it. I mean, that's all the emotional content, all the you know, as much experiential content as I can bring, even in this crazy from world that we're living in. I always try to personalize as much as possible so that it'll be as real as possible for me when I do it. And that's a great question because it's a great, again, another great, wonderful challenge about this thing. I live in a world of monsters, so there's but there's a lot of ways of even exploring again this season. This childlike part of Victor that's triggered early on, almost like this regression. That just comes from my own personal experience of being a dad and having a daughter and I mean always right, and for all of us I think in the cast, right, that's when we're coming in and having to when you have a because essentially what this all is for us is it's a study of human life in these crazy circumstances, right, or just in these particular circumstances. And so everybody in the cast, it's me or Donna or Boyd or anybody, right? We're all, you see this wonderful work that they're doing this season. Everybody's bringing that in. When it lands, when it all makes us feel something, right? It's because it's coming from a real place, I think as I I'm still a bit of a social bug, but I would say as I get older, I do enjoy more alone time. I don't know. I don't want to cut it out that I'm like, I'm some kind of misanthrope or something, and I don't
No,
want
but
to be
you've been.
around people.
If I'm being honest, Scott's been really cool. He's really nice, guys. Very humble, in my opinion. Very, very nice.
Thanks, man. But there's a thing about with Victor that even though the kind of work that I like to do is about trying to is and just how my poetry wants to express itself is stepping out as another person. It's still me, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to articulate, but it's still Victor is still all those things that are happening are still me, coming from me, you know. So I guess I kind of I relate to all of it, really, in some way, Of course, a lot of the work has to be developed with imagination. That's just a large part, obviously, what we have to do. But I try to personalize, as much of it as I can.
Now this is like a statement, like they're like praising you. Overon says, not a question, but if it wasn't for his character and play, I probably would have stopped watching the show by now. He's a great actor. I wish to see him in more movies in the future. And the best ending of the series I can think of is Victor escaping this town prison, but all of his emotional trauma he's lived through unlock his sinister side, like turn him into the Mad Joker from Batman.
That's the end of. That's how he wants the end. Or that it does do that to him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for that, and thank you for the kind words. But I will say this first: keep watching, watching, regardless of I mean, just keep watching the show. There's so many exciting things to come. That's a really lovely comment. That's great. Yeah, I thought about that. I mean, we've all thought about that. Who's going to make it out in the end? I mean, none of us know, of course.
Yeah.
None of us know what's going to happen next season. None of us know where any of this is leading.
Yeah, I figure I read you the questions and the praise because we could hear people compliment. I mean, Scott, the compliment.
Yeah, so nice. Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that, Joe. Thanks so much.
Magna Hope I'm pronouncing that word. How did you honestly react, both outwardly and in your mind, when you first heard it's called From? Like, how did you react? Like, to that?
Wow. Yeah, because I don't think that there was any kind of a working title in the beginning. I think when I auditioned, even it was there already. Um, I don't remember what my first impression of that was. I mean, I remember liking it. I think that's the feeling I seem to remember. Uh, and then I think once I got into shooting, and we started to get the story of how everyone was starting to arrive into the town, I think that certainly resonated, and I thought that that's maybe what it was about. But who knows? Again, who knows what the title means? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Now, Mr. Richard GGR22101 asks, how long did Victor live alone after the massacre? Like, do you know how long he lived?
Yeah, we were just talking about that a few minutes ago. I mean, I have for my own personal, from my work, I have a general idea of it. I mean, most people, I think, just based on age and looking at the 70s and that kind of a thing, people are generally, I think, the FROMILY, all you what people, the fans talk about it being about 40 years. But I think, I mean, if I was going to theorize or even come close to something like that, what is time in this place? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Victor doesn't know. He's just a guy who wants his peaches. So I don't,
The only one, it's like day and night. That's only, in my opinion, like for time. Like you figure one's daytime and one's nighttime.
Right. How is time? Is time moving exponent? Like, is it? Well, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So to say 40 years could be by this reality, this dimension, or this world, or whatever we want to call it. We could go, yeah, based on my age and that kind of a thing. And it's starting him being there in the 70s. But I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
I hope this isn't going to be incredibly dissatisfying for everybody watching. That all these wonderful questions, but once again that I Scott, I just don't know the answer to.
Tim Phoney, he's not a question, it's another statement. Victor is honestly the highlight of the show.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Taking that right in.
Shawnee Zero, do you know more about the character and his history? Like, where is the character going to go in the future? Like, what's going to happen? But I don't think you could say it.
Say again?
I don't think you could say because it's kind of like NDA. You can't really say what's going to go happen in the future for Victor. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see. But what was the full question again?
Oh, do you know more about your character and his history, and where is the character going to go in the future?
Do I know more about Victor's history?
Yes.
And where it's going to go? Yeah, it's that thing that I mean, at this point, I mean, I know what's going to happen. Obviously, for the rest of the season, as we're going with, as far as the live event television is concerned. But I know you're all going to be there and you're going to watch. And like I said, it's going to be some great stuff coming up. But in terms of anything beyond that, no, I don't. I certainly don't. And the neat thing I'll say this about working as Victor is that, again, I get a script and there's a new idea in there. Something happens, or there's something about his memory that happens that all of a sudden tells me more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As the actor, that I go, oh, okay, now start working on this. And what's really interesting is sometimes that stuff for me aligns with things that I was already thinking about or creating for myself, if that makes sense, Joe. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I love when that happens. And I think I have to get back to a question somebody I realize now asked earlier, which was, it was something to the effect, Joe, of like, do the actors and writers collaborate or something like that? It was something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. I mean, John's talked about how, when we do these, we have these conversations and these meetings and things, and he's watching, obviously, what we're bringing to the table, and how we're, that collaboration, and with Jack and with whoever's direct, all that, how it's happening there. And that inspires John, obviously, and to go in a certain direction with something, or maybe a whole new idea will come to him about something, or whatever it is. So that, I guess that's sort of that collaborative entity, that thing that's happening is, it's where the thing we're from is all of a sudden kind of like creating itself as we're moving along. It's what everybody's sort of bringing to the table influences everything else.
Wow. Now,
The creative process.
Amy BG9 says, how many takes were needed to get the twinkle twinkle scene as perfect as it was? It was so perfect, they said.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I think I can say this. I don't really remember everything leading up to the car,
Okay.
right, where I get on the car, but I think that we did, in terms of, and Jade was really playing. So, because we have what's called a single on me as I'm sitting on the car, a single shot on me, but you also have a single one on Jade too. And I think both of those shots were pushing into both of us. I think we did 2 takes on either shot. That's what I remember. I think so. I think that's what I remember. Maybe 3, but I think I know I think it was 2. Yeah.
Wow. You're really, in my opinion, you're really good at acting, Scott, and voice acting. So, in my opinion.
Thanks so much. Yeah. I mean, truthfully too, I mean, this is, and this is just something about, again, like, I think we were having just a good day, all the work that we had put into it. And I mean, God, most days, on that production, because it's just such a wonderful, wonderful group of artists and collaborators and everything, what was I going to say? Anyways, the television generally too, because of the scheduling, because of what it is, I mean, obviously you do as many takes as are needed, to get it in the can, to get what you need. But it generally tends to move, pretty quickly, say, unlike some bigger budget studio pictures where, you might take a scene and shoot it over a couple of days or something like that. TV's just always, moves in that way. So once, you kind of get back, you kind of get used to that music on set, and how, you just gotta be there. You gotta be ready and prepared and to do that scene. And that's not to say that I wasn't nervous about going in and doing a day like that, for any of us for that matter. But so much of it, and this word keeps popping up, and I'm gonna, probably drive everybody crazy with it, but that collaboration is everything, right? Then you know what I mean? We're all there for the same reason. We got it. We're all putting the same energy into it. The trust is there. The love is there for what it is. The belief. I really am such a huge believer in band morale. I'm a musician, right? So that whole thing is that, like, when you're in your rock band, whatever, you really think that you're the Who. You think you're the greatest band of all time. And I really, you got to keep that up there. That's just part of the drive. I love that, and I would say that From just glides on that band morale. Everything is, and Jack Bender's really great at doing that. He just keeps everything, up, and that's another great aspect of the show is that we all just believe and know that we're doing something great.
Special shout out to Scott McCord and the Bonafide Truth, since you mentioned bands.
Thanks, man.
Special shout out.
Wow, that's been a long time, but thank you. Yeah, Bonafide Truth was the band.
Yes. Yeah. Special shout out. Okay. Now, some people may not even realize that you voiced Owen on Total Drama before moving on to From. What are some of the similarities and differences between playing opposite characters in 2 drastically different shows?
Yeah.
That's from the Roadway Dreaming.
Here's some similarities. Similarities is that Owen's kind of a kid himself, right? So again, there's that. But doing voice and shooting on camera, but obviously, I mean, I see both things, voice acting and and at film acting as different things, even though you're an actor and there are similar. I won't get into the whole thing, but I feel like, with voice, there's an interesting thing. Like, I'll talk about Owen specifically. There's an interesting thing when you're behind a microphone. You're being seen generally by the people that are in your voice director, your director, and production. But you're kind of behind a microphone, and you're not being filmed. Nobody's going to see what you're doing, and so there's something really liberating about that, because what it means is, when I'm doing Owen, I mean, if you could watch me doing it when I'm doing any, some voice actors, like, we really even get physical when we do it.
Yeah, when you do Owen's voice, I freak out. Not gonna lie.
But it's exciting. I know Mark Hamill talked about that, or I met years ago a wonderful human being who's left this earth, Kevin Conroy, who was the voice of Batman.
Yep.
As I'm sure a lot of you know. And he's a very revered, wonderful actor, voice actor. That was a great gift he gave.
Oh my God.
It's not even Batman, but to the world. And he was also just an amazing human being. We did a couple cons out in Australia and New Zealand together.
Oh my God. Wow.
And I was blessed and honored to be on a voice panel with him and Kylie Bear and Steve Bloom and all these great voice actors.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I got to meet them all. Yeah. And Kevin Conroy, of course, as you can imagine, was like, he was this quiet guy, but we would go into restaurants to meet, they had like these VIP packages for fans, and we'd go in to meet the fans, and like, we'd walk in, and the people working the event would go, "Is that Batman? Is that Batman?" And then they would even say to Kevin, "Are you Batman?" And he'd go, "Yes." And that wonderful voice that he had. Anyway, Kevin Conroy, the story about Kevin Conroy is he talked to me about, it wasn't me directly, maybe he talked about it in one of the events, that Mark Hamill is the Joker. He said to watch him work behind the microphone was like, if people could see what he was doing, because he just put I'm sure you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Every fiber of his creative being into it, but physically, apparently, like, it was just all in everything he did, his face, his body, everything that he would bring to that when he was behind the microphone. But of course, we never see that. And I think that, I know Mark has talked about that too, where it's like, just because you're behind a microphone too, don't doubt that it's not, that actors aren't still, working with their emotional content and all that. It's all still there, but it's just different, because you do have something that's, at least for me, a little more liberating that way, because you can do anything behind the microphone to get that voice,
When, like I said, though, whenever you do Owen's voice, it's like, oh my God, like the little kid in me, even I get so excited. So I get so happy.
Well, and it's easy to do when I can't, because I've done it so much throughout the years.
It's so cool. See, it's so cool.
But so it's something that because I've had, as you know.
Yeah.
That's one of the gifts in my life that just keeps on giving. It's wonderful. Owen keeps, appearing and reappearing, and all these in the total drama multiverse,
Dramarama,
and
Idanko's race.
So who would have ever known when I auditioned for that part? I would have, that it would be such a huge part of my life. 20 years later.
Yeah, the best total drama character, in my opinion. He is.
Yeah.
Like, he's so lovable and cool. Oh, I'm sorry.
If I had a can of peaches, I would give it to you right now.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, let's do another jump and high five. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Sorry. Now,
thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Now, this next question is from Unique Dragonfly 407. How did you survive for that long? And is he responsible for the tree being in the road? Are you responsible for that?
Oh, wow. Never had that question. Unfortunately, I don't have answers for either of those. I would say the tree being in the road.
I could see you doing that though, Victor, because of the cars. Though I could see that too.
Oh, really? You think Victor would do something like he would be trying to redirect people into the town?
Yeah, like it's like
think
because he knows what happened. That I forgot the guy's name, the one that did the bad things. Oh my god, it just happened. You know what I'm talking about? That when you explained to Jade, that bad guy that Jade saw.
Oh, Christopher,
that's it. Yeah, because I could see that you want people to get away from it because you don't want them to turn to Christopher. You know what I mean?
that's an interesting theory, Joe. Wow.
I could see that. Sorry.
Yeah, interesting. I've never heard that before. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. Or and the other one was, what was the other one again? Was it about his history?
How did you survive for that long? How did you survive?
Yeah, another great.
You
great
probably like hit it somewhere. I'm assuming probably.
I mean, I think one thing that Victor says early on that sort of has always resonated for me is referring to the boy in white as my friend.
True.
And I wonder, and this is just that obviously the boy in white, when we connected, has guided me and probably, I mean, who knows, but has guided me and been maybe a part of that.
Yeah, maybe you took all those faraway trees too. May help.
I don't know. Again, I don't know. And if I went to John Griffin and I said, the boy in white do all these things in the faraway, John Griffin would go, huh.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You said. Now, simple slim pickle, nice username. 97 asks favorite memory on set. What's your favorite memory?
Favorite memory on set.
It's yet to
I
happen.
have one.
Oh, or do you have one?
I'm just trying to think here. So many. I mean, there's fun. There's one, the ones that, there's been times where we've had great laughs. I'm trying to think of one in particular. I mean, David is such a cut up. He's so funny. He can break me out of character. Bless him. So many great memories, and and even the time that I've spent with Simon Webster, who I loved it. He plays Ethan, of course, and he's he's just he's amazing. He's such a little pro, and he's such a beautiful actor, and he's so still and does so much with doing so little. And he's so relaxed all the time. In and out of the scenes, cut. He can just go, and he and I would. We would hang out and play chess sometimes, talk about Star Wars. There's some great memories of hanging out with him in the first season like that, But there's no particular one that sticks out in my mind. I just, I have a lot of great memories about like there was a point where Catalina and I had scenes together, and she lives close to me. We shoot. The town is about I don't know. It's like a 40 or 45 minute drive up from Halifax, roughly. I don't know, something like that. And so as you know, in film and TV, you have early calls in the morning. You got to get up early, head into So, but Catalina and I for a while were going into work together, so she'd come pick me up, and we'd have the coffees, and we would drive in the dark through the dark woods, to the town together, and those are really great memories because or finishing the day and heading home and just listening to music and I'm feeling good about the work and the show and all that stuff. I mean, all of us are just so excited. I always like the scenes, because Victor doesn't. I haven't had too many scenes where I'm not part of the scenes in the town with a lot of people. It's rare that I'm ever around a lot of people. So in this season, as you know, in episode 2, there's a few of us that are together at one point during the night, staying together.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed. That was a great memory, was being with everyone, because I realized that's the first time that it's the most people I've ever been around. on the show. Same with Harold, and and we all got to hang out. That was a great memory. So many great memories. I can't really pull one at this point, but so many.
Well, this next question is actually one of mine. Okay. Ready for this? Okay, Scott. Okay.
This is one of yours?
Yes.
Yeah.
If one of mine, can you please say or reenact a Victor quote and scene? Can you do something Victor was? Sorry, Scott.
No, I'm just trying to think here. How about this? I mean, this was probably because I had to do this one in my audition. It's hard because I have a whole process to kind of to get into him, but I know I love the line. I've always loved the line. It was one of in the scene with Ethan. When I first meet Ethan in season 1.
Oh.
and he goes, he asks me what I'm doing, and I'm not telling him. And then eventually when I start to, he mentions the boy in white, and I realize that maybe because he sees him, maybe he and I are similar. I go over and I show him what I'm doing, and I go, I'm checking to see if they've moved.
I remember that.
And he goes, what does he say? He goes, if what moved? And I go,
the trees.
Trees. That's one of my favorite Victor moments. It's hard. I'm not. I have a whole process again. That to sink into the work. But
another Cincher quote was the "Don't touch my
that.
stuff," or "I don't like people touch my stuff." You say the Jade, basically.
Oh yeah, he doesn't like when people are touching his things. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's be fair. Jade ravaged his room.
Yeah, he did.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'd be angry too.
Dead, and he went through and left it in a bit of a state. So I think I had good reason to be angry.
Yep.
Jade.
Now on the Reddit page r/from series. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me go to where is it? Okay. Aside from Victor, who's your favorite character on From?
Oh, yeah,
this is from Screenway. This is from Screenway.
My favorite character. Oh man, that's. I mean, I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, there's. I think everybody's work, and like I mentioned earlier, and when we were talking, I think everybody's work this season in the new cast is so good. I just get so stoked when I watch everybody doing their stuff. There was a beautiful scene the other day with Boyd and Chan Chen that I thought was really lovely. With Mary Ellen Christie, it was a really beautiful scene with them the other day. There's there's scenes. I could talk about scenes. I love the one with Elgin and Sarah.
And the church.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Donna and Boyd. Randall is a great, right?
I did see him last episode too. In the last one, you remember? That's the one. Let's see.
And everybody's doing such amazing work. I love everybody. I mean, everybody's doing such amazing work. There was a moment that Hannah did that just ripped my heart out. I think it was when she was on the floor of the diner. I don't want to give too much away, but when she got her, the house had collapsed. Yeah. And of course, again, David Scott, and Tabitha confronting Sarah, and oh my God, I think there's just there's so much. I have so many, not so much favorite things, but just stuff that I love. I mean, just watching everybody really shine in their work.
Ian Bailey's really good too, Jim.
Ian Bailey, of course, yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that look at that work that he was doing, just trapped there under the house for how many episodes,
Yeah.
Amazing. And I've had a little bit with Ian on the show. In season 1, he threw me out of the diner. He's great, and a really lovely human being.
He was really good in Once Upon a Time. That was a good show he was in.
I didn't see him in that.
It's a really good show.
Oh yeah.
Only 99. I don't know if this question is good enough for Scott. That's what they said.
Oh, they're all
will,
good.
But will he be able to answer this? But will most of the plot holes be explained this season?
Most of the
general?
plot holes be explained this season. I mean, you know, and again, I don't know the answer to that question. It depends on what those holes are for each individual person. You know, the interesting thing that I've noticed on this show is that there are people that obviously are, you know, really want answers. They want, you know, a certain gratification of knowing certain things. You know, they're really pushing for that. And and here we have a puzzle box mystery show. You know? And there's people that really love, you know, the stories taking time and the character development. Everybody's got their thing, you know. In terms of what's, I don't know, it's speaking to that gratification or that satisfaction. I don't know what to say. I mean, all I can just say is more is coming. Like, you just stay buckled in, keep your arms inside the ride. It's gonna get wild. It's like, you know.
See, I always want to know. This one question I'm always puzzled about. Who was saying your wife should never dug that hole, Jim? That's what I'm always curious. Like, who is that? That's my plot hole.
The
Who said
voice?
that? Yeah, on the radio. Yeah.
On the radio, yeah.
That's what my one question is. Like, who the heck was it? I thought it was you for the longest time, but at the same time, it didn't sound like you.
There was a theory that it was, yeah. And then it was funny that there was a theory going around too at first when the new season started, and I don't want to give too much away, but the character of Martin, do you remember?
Oh, the one that just.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that Boyd.
Yeah, the Harold came across that your blood is my blood now.
Yeah. So there was this speculation, like people were like, is that Victor? Is that, you know, or not that it was Victor, but it was, or that it was Christopher?
Yeah, wait, we never heard him
There was
talk.
all this speculation, you know, about that. But if you remember, when Boyd first heard his voice, Martin's voice, I was watching the episode with my wife, and when she heard him call, my wife goes, "Is that you?" Which I thought was so interesting. My wife is really great with voices. And it was him sounding, you know, pre-ravaged and older. Well, oh God, I love all the theories. I love all the ideas and the theories that are spinning out. I mean, some of them are so super developed and great and very imaginative. And
this would be a wild theory. Is it maybe Randall? I don't know, something about him. I just don't trust the character.
Martin would be that's an interesting one too.
Like Randall being on the radio. That's what I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, the voice on the radio.
Yeah.
Ooh, Joe, you got some good theories, man.
I'm just thought it might be weird. I don't know, maybe because I don't trust him. Something about his character, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Are you posting these? Do you actually get on and
No, because I don't know if I'll be right. That's
Yeah. And you know, as I said before too, I've been asked that question. What is your theory? What do I think is happening? And and this is the truth. I mean, things pop into my head sometimes, you know, that I go, but I actually don't invest a lot of time in thinking about that. And I think that's just because I'm just trying to stay aligned with the work I'm doing as Victor. So I'm not actively trying to
solve the case,
solve the puzzle. Yeah.
Next one up is from Baby Eagle. She said, or he or she, I don't. Okay. They said we're told Victor has been there the longest since he was a child, but it didn't really sink in what it would be like for him until recently when we saw a great and very emotional scene with him and Jade. Victor requested Jade play "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" on his violin, and this was when it hit me. Victor hasn't had very much contact with the normal world at all. His only exposure to music is probably that same song his mother used to sing to him. That's incredibly sad to think about, since a lot of people immediately perceive him as this typically creepy old man. You do a fantastic job bringing that soft, childlike side of Victor to light. Is it challenging playing such a character? And finally, what do you think Victor enjoys eating at the diner?
At the diner? At the diner? Oh, that's so nice. So first of all, thank you so much for all that. That's so great. And it's always just so nice to see how it's all landing with people too. You know, what they get out of it. It's so great hearing that and then again what their ideas are. I'll answer the diner one first.
Something with peaches, probably, right?
If there was, but I don't know if, at least in this story of From, Victor hasn't spent any time in the diner other than going in there to look for Ethan back in episode 4, I guess it was, of season 1. What would he eat? It's a good question. Another great question. And then the first part of that was, the other part of that question right before it was,
is it challenging playing such a character?
Is it challenging playing such a? Oh, right. Yeah, I was speaking to this earlier. Yeah, it is, as it always is. But it's. I love it. I love the challenge. And I feel like with something with a character like this too. Because, again, in the character description, it's not like we have a full story here where we can come in and go, here are the certain parameters to his life, here are the certain things. There's so much of the canvas that hasn't even been, right? It's this massive canvas for me. So, and it's ongoing. So we'll see. I'm really excited to see where it all goes. And if what we learn of Victor's past, if we learn anything at all, and what is real and what isn't. Of course, all the questions, all the questions everybody's asking.
Do you know the food? I don't know. What would Victor eat at the diner though? I really don't know. What would you eat at the diner? Like they said, what would you eat at the diner?
I think me, Scott, I would go for the pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes.
Right? If you remember.
Yep.
Tian Chen made Ethan, I think, some special pancakes one day.
So you'd want pancakes?
I think I'd go pancakes. How about you?
Probably pancakes or waffles. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something breakfast related.
You and I both we like pasta. You and I are pasta guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I'm Italian, so I like my pasta.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah, right. I was in Nashville recently, and I got to do a plug, and I went to a place called, oh God, I hope I get the name right. The Pancake Pantry? Oh God, I hope I get the name right. Anyway, I heard wonderful things about this place. And I went and I had the best pancakes in my life.
So they're the greatest pancakes.
Yeah, they were so good. I mean, I've had so many pancakes. We've all had pancakes. You know what I mean? I got a kid. I've had lots of pancakes in my life. But isn't it amazing? You can sit down and go, they're pancakes. You know what I mean? And you go, these are the greatest pancakes I've ever had in my life.
This next one's like a statement. It's from Dazzling Map 2475. Not a question, but I want to say that Victor is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah?
Thanks so much. That's great.
Denigma?
I mean, so much. Thank you. Enigma?
Denigma? That's the next person's name. On a scale of whisper to jet engine, how loud was Tabitha in the tunnels?
You imagine if I said jet engine? It wasn't jet engine. She wasn't in the tunnels. Look, I mean, truthfully, Victor was talking too. I was telling her about the boy in white. I was mentioning certain things. I mean, we were both navigating these very scary waters down there and not knowing what was to come. We were both talking. That was really super fun to shoot too. Like they created on the. At the studio, they created 100+ feet of like all those tunnels down there. Again, great design on the show, so fabulous.
Wow. No, moisturizer. That's the username. Does Victor know any of the monsters since he grew up in that time period? And they seem to be telling.
I don't know. Yeah, like the question would be, does he recognize them? Does he?
Is one of them Christopher, maybe?
Huh?
Is one of them Christopher we'll see as a monster? That'd be crazy.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah. I will say this to speak back again to shooting those scenes in the cave where I was in front of the monsters.
Mhm.
The work that they did on those actors, right? And there are some, I think, some post effects that they've got in there. But what you saw was really what we saw, Catalina and I, when we were shooting. And they were, I mean, again, like just the makeup and the effects on the show, so good. Like they looked that scary in person. You know,
True.
it was amazing. There's such amazing work on the show. And I remember, I think one of them anyway. One of the actors they couldn't see very well through their makeup, so they had a guide, an actual person that could do stuff and for them get their food and all that. And so when I went over, I realized I was talking to them for a little bit, and then I realized they couldn't see me. So the guide had to put their hand into my hand to shake it and whatever. And I thought, oh wow, that's awesome. That's just so they did such amazing work, and that's just such right, such dedication to sit like that, for hours, in the makeup chair, and then to move on to set and then shoot all day. Incredible.
Now, Bird.
Monster work.
Sorry about that. Bird Person 43. Who threw the rope? Who threw the rope? You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about. Rope. The rope that
Oh,
marked
I know everybody wants to know that. I don't have the answer to that either. I mean, that's just one of those things again, right? Like, yeah, who knows?
Tight Knee 9809. Do Victor's drawings have anything to do with what happened in the town and what is still happening? Like, did he actually create the town, the monsters, with his drawings? Did you do it?
See, another great theory that somebody should put out there. I don't know. I mean, I would, as Victor references in episode 2 of this season, in that scene with Boyd, he draws things when he sees them. So I think it's, he's affected. He draws them when he sees them because the pictures will remember. I think because of the trauma, because of things that have happened to him in the past. This unreliable narrator, again, this thing about the drawings represent whatever it is that he's going through and experiencing there. He's trying to, they're, what he thinks are his memories. It's a way of making him capturing that moment. As to whether he created something with him, I mean, I think that's an amazing theory. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, we'll see in this. Who knows? I mean, there's so many
Theories.
so many things, and none of us on the show know.
No. Yeah.
Anything.
The Tiny Jazz Hands asked, how many, if any, of the crayon drawings were actually done by you?
Or actually done by me. They're not done by me. They're done by a wonderful artist named Colin Canning.
Okay.
He's done them right since the beginning. I've met him. I've gone into his office. I met him when we shot the past season, and it's great. Like you go in there and he's got, I mean, you can just imagine like just he's endlessly drawing. It's
like a From library. Almost like a From library.
Just and he's just going through all these different things and versions of whatever. He's got this big like hubcap size thing full of crayons, right?
Oh my god!
Amazing work though, don't you think? I think he just does such wonderful work. But there's I do my own drawings, but none of them. Those aren't the ones that are being used in the show. In the show, they're designed by Colin. Yeah.
Wow. Now, how do you prepare yourself for your scenes and getting into Victor's frame of mind? That's from Simple Wish 13. How do you prepare yourself?
I have there's a number of things that I do. I mean, it can depend on the day. It can depend on the scene. As we go from script to script and I get, say newer information about Victor or story or whatever else, I mean, the work I do at home is just, coming up with different things or keys, as I'll call them, so that I can prepare a certain kind of work that when I go in, I have that key to kind of get me there when it's needed, so yeah, each thing is different. There's certain there's a certain way that I can kind of, that I can move into Victor when I get to work, before I'm about to start the day. There's a certain set of keys for that I've developed. But then if you take a scene like at the beginning in the caves, let's go back to the caves where Tabitha, remember I see something and I end up kind of curled up in a ball, and something's been triggered, and I'm reacting very emotionally, and going through all that. That was a very specific thing that I remember when I got the script and I read it. I had to develop a key into that. I had to develop some sort of a thing, again, from my own experience, my own thing, whatever else, to kind of get into that particular moment. And again, like we're all the actors, we're all sort of doing that kind of work or a similar kind of work to arrive on the day.
Like work with Harold Perrineau. What is it like?
What is it like to work with Harold?
Yes. Did you ask him to give a good waltz yet? That's like, like this.
I'll say this: I haven't had that much with Harold. I had some at the beginning of the season here, as we've seen. I was one of my it was one of my favorite scenes to shoot this season with him when he was asking about the drawings, which I was just talking about. We were just talking about. He's an outstanding actor, as we know. I've been a fan of his since I saw him in Romeo and Juliet years ago. I was super excited to work with him this season because we didn't have anything in the first season together. But we had met early on when the show started. He's great. He's a wonderful, giving, generous actor, as he is a human being, as for being a number one on a show. I think he does an absolutely outstanding job of that. I love him for it. I had a little bit of time on set to watch him and see, and even how he works, and he is just such a pro. And I'm sure a lot of people know too, because this has Jack Bender, who was on Lost. Like they have their own thing, yeah, Harold's he's outstanding. I mean, that's the word of the day.
Now, Media says, tell him he's got my nomination for an Emmy. That scene on top of the car was very moving for people who've lost parents. We get what he was doing in that scene. It was a beautiful piece of art that really evaluated the whole series, in my opinion. Thank him for that.
Hey, thank you for that, Joe, and for bringing those into our conversation today. I think it's so great to know that it's always good to know that the work that you're doing is landing in some way, with people. We are, I know with all of us, we're going in there, like I said, the band morale is high, and we're working our asses off to really give this everything that it deserves and wants and needs, and this whole idea of what FROMILY is now, this whole entity of From, you're part of it, Joe, you and your mom. It's a beautiful thing that feels bigger than the show itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's not, you know what I mean? Where we can say, and I mean in the best way, like it's not that it's just a TV show, it's something much, much, much bigger than that. And when I get these comments like that or these questions, thank all of you, first of all, for all the great questions. I know I'm not going to satisfy everybody's needs here because I just don't know. But I want to thank you, Joe, certainly your mom, everybody who sent the questions in, and these wonderful, wonderful comments. They just, mean so much, and they really land for all of us. That I'm just so grateful for all the energy that goes into From, and how everybody keeps it all up in the air, being part of this event television. Even for those who came in later and streamed it and binged it and are now on the ride, it's there's just something about From that just keeps getting bigger, and it's just so full of heart, and it's all of you. So thank you so much for that. And thanks for today, Joe. That was great.
Yeah. What's one thing you like to tell the FROMILY? Like, thank you? Amazing.
That's it. I mean, everything I think I was just saying right there. I think I'm beyond grateful, and I think I can speak, for everyone involved that we all feel so incredibly grateful for all the love, for everything from.
Do you have any questions, Scott? Before I ask you my very last one, do you have any questions? Do you have anything?
Joe, did you have a good time today?
Hell yeah, it was a lot of fun talking to my good friend, the legend himself, Scott McCord.
Oh, and the legend Joe. Hey guys, remember to subscribe. Joe does astounding work here. Beautiful. He's got some great interviews. You can probably just go along here and see everybody that he's talked to. And again, like sports and entertainment. I'm gonna kudos to you, man, for just putting the positivity out in the world. I know that's your MO, and I hope I've in some way have contributed to that today. And please stay in touch and keep watching the show, man. I'm sure we'll connect after, and like I said, just stay for the ride. It's a good one.
Scott, is there anything you'd like to promote and shout out? Like, help link down below in the video description for the viewers to check out. I'm assuming from season 2.
From season 2, yeah, absolutely. I would also like, if it's okay, Joe, I'd like to pump. There's a movie that actually came out last year, but I think it landed on streaming this year, called East of Middle West.
I was sad. I know you're talking about.
And it was a little movie that we made right before the pandemic. That of course during that time was just going through its post process, and we were all waiting to see what was going to happen with the world. And it started doing some festivals, and it won a number of awards and audience awards. And it's this beautiful, beautiful little slow burn crime drama called East of Middle West that I'm just really proud of that we all did. That's available on. You can stream it on, most platforms, I think, but you can probably find it in Amazon, Apple, and again, East of Middle West. And it boasts some really great Canadian. It's an American film, but that boasts great American talent, but also a few of the leads are Canadian. So I got to do a shout out.
Scott McCord.
I'm one of the Canadians. Yeah, and I think
your social media pages, so people can follow you.
Sure, man. You can come and find me. This is Scott McCord, or this is Scotty McCord, and you can find me, and you can probably find a lot of the other cast out there. And I guess also know too that if you don't, on Sunday nights we live tweet.
Yeah.
Sunday at 9 p.m. When the show goes live, a bunch of us jump on there. It's super fun. I know your mom does it, and. So I guess I'll see you there Sunday, Joe.
Yeah. Also, too, I'll link down your YouTube channel where people can subscribe for you. I'm subscribed actually to your channel. Scott, your YouTube.
Joe. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that.
Got you. Well, Thank you again, Scott, for being an awesome, amazing guest. This is a fun time chatting with you. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Always. Thank you too, man. Thanks so much.
Have a great day, everybody, and stay awesome. And you stay awesome, Scott.
I will. I'll do my best. You too, Joe. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much again for the questions. I love you much. And we'll see you Sunday.